I gave her everything, my dreams, my heart, even my future. She didn't just take them, she wore them like a costume, until I decided it was time to rip it all away. We grew up in a small town in Ohio, two girls with big city dreams. Chloe was the sun, and I was the moon that reflected her light. At 23, I thought our bond was unbreakable. I was the designer, the one who stayed up until 3 a.m. sketching patterns, while Chloe was the face of our brand. We were supposed to launch our boutique together. It was my vision, my late nights, my soul, poured into every stitch of those silk dresses. I remember the first time I felt the cold chill of doubt. We were sitting in our cramped Brooklyn apartment, and I showed her my everlasting collection. It was my masterpiece. Chloe looked at the sketches, and for a second, her eyes weren't full of pride. They were full of hunger. "You're a genius, Sarah," she whispered, but she didn't look at me. She looked at the paper, like it was a winning lottery ticket. Then came Mark. Mark was the man I thought I would marry. He was kind, or so I thought. He was the one who encouraged me when I felt like giving up. But slowly, things started to shift. I would come home and find them sitting a little too close on the sofa. "We were just talking about the business, Sarah," they'd say, in perfect unison. The red flags were everywhere, like blood on white snow. Chloe started taking meetings without me. She said I was too creative for the boring stuff. Then, she asked me to sign a partnership agreement. I trusted her. I didn't even read the fine print. I was young. I was tired, and I loved her. That was my first mistake. One afternoon, I walked into our office, the one we had finally rented with my savings. The locks were changed. My key didn't turn. I called Chloe, but it went straight to voicemail. I called Mark, nothing. 2 hours later, an email arrived. It wasn't from Chloe. It was from a law firm. The words on the screen felt like physical blows. I had been severed from the company. The partnership agreement I signed was actually a total transfer of my intellectual property. I had sold her my life's work for $1. And the worst part? The email was CC'd to Mark, my boyfriend, her new chief operating officer. My world didn't just crack. It shattered. I was 24, homeless, penniless, and betrayed by the two people I would have died for. I spent weeks in a daze, sleeping on a friend's couch, watching from the sidelines as Chloe became the it girl of the New York fashion scene. My designs, my everlasting collection, were on the cover of every magazine. And she was taking all the credit. She told the press it was her healing journey that inspired the fabrics. My healing journey was a bottle of cheap wine and a floor covered in tears. The emotional peak hit me on a rainy Tuesday. I scrolled past an Instagram post. It was a photo of a ring. A massive diamond, the one Mark and I had looked at months ago. The caption read, "I said yes to my business partner and my soulmate. 11.11. The wedding of the century." I broke. I threw my phone against the wall and screamed until my throat was raw. They weren't just stealing my career, they were building a life on the ruins of mine. Mark had never loved me. I was just the engine that built the car, and Chloe was the driver who kicked me out once the tank was full. I fell into a deep, dark hole. For a month, I didn't leave the room. But then, I found it. In the bottom of an old moving box was my old laptop, the one I used before we moved to the city. I realized I had never deleted the original metadata from my first sketches. I had timestamped files, emails to myself from 3 years ago, and most importantly, a recording. I remembered. I used to record our brainstorming sessions for inspiration. I scrolled through the files, my heart hammering against my ribs. And there it was. A recording from 2 years ago. "Sarah, these designs are yours. I'm just here to help you sell them." I could never create something this beautiful. Chloe's voice, clear as a bell. And then, Mark's voice. "Don't worry, babe. We'll make sure she stays in the workroom while we take the stage. She's too soft to ever fight back." The betrayal was premeditated. It wasn't an accident. It was a heist. A cold, calculated theft of my entire identity. something inside me shifted. The sadness didn't go away, but it was joined by a burning, icy resolve. They thought I was soft. They thought I was just a girl who liked to draw. They forgot that I was the one who knew how to weave the trap. I spent the next 3 months in total silence. I didn't post. I didn't call. I let them think I had disappeared into the shadows of the city. I watched the wedding of the century countdown. They were getting married at a historic estate in the Hamptons. All the fashion elite, all the investors, everyone who mattered would be there. It was the perfect stage for a final performance. The day of the wedding arrived. I didn't wear black. I wore the most beautiful dress I had ever made, a secret design I had kept hidden for years. I didn't try to sneak in. I walked through the front gate with a legal team and a digital specialist. The ceremony was breathtaking. Chloe was wearing my everlasting bridal gown, a dress I had designed for my own wedding. She looked like an angel, but I knew the demon underneath. Just as the priest said, if anyone has any reason why these two should not be joined. I didn't shout. I didn't make a scene. I simply nodded to the technician I had hired. The giant LED screens, which were supposed to show a romantic montage of their love story, flickered. Suddenly, Chloe's voice filled the garden. Not the sweet, scripted voice she used for the press, but the cold, mocking voice from the recording. She's too soft to ever fight back. The music stopped. The guests gasped. The image on the screen changed from a photo of them kissing to the legal documents showing the metadata of my designs. Then, a video. A video I had captured from a hidden security camera in our old office, showing Chloe and Mark laughing as they signed the papers to lock me out. The silence was louder than any scream. I walked down the aisle, not toward the altar, but toward the front row where the press was sitting. I handed a flash drive to the editor of the biggest fashion magazine in the country. "This is the real story of Everlasting," I whispered, loud enough for the microphone to catch. "It's a story of theft and a story of revenge." Chloe's face went from white to gray to a horrific shade of red. Mark tried to grab me, but my lawyers stepped in. "The wedding is over," I said softly, looking Chloe right in the eyes. "And so is your career. I've filed an injunction. You can't use my name. You can't use my designs. You have nothing." The wedding of the century turned into the lawsuit of the century. Within an hour, their investors pulled out. By the next morning, the brand was dead. Mark left Chloe 3 days later, but not before she sued him for the loss of the business. They deserved each other. Now, I sit in my new studio. It's quiet. It's small. But every thread, every sketch, belongs to me. I lost my best friend, and I lost the man I thought I loved. But I found something much better. I found my voice. And I found out that I am not soft. I am steel. If you enjoyed this story of justice, please like and subscribe for more. Have you ever been betrayed by a best friend? Tell me your story in the comments below.